So a student asked, is the DOJ, otherwise known as the Department of Justice, part of the executive or judicial branch, or is it part of both? I think this is a really good question to kind of illustrate the complexity that the executive branch, and particularly the bureaucracy, has within our governmental system. So the Department of Justice is a cabinet-level agency. It is part of the executive bureaucracy. But you can look at DOJ's mission, and you can find it on the website, justice.gov/about, and think about how this may overlap and extend into the judicial branch of the government. So as part of the Department of Justice's mission, it is to enforce the law and defend the interest of the United States according to the law. Now, certainly the power to enforce the law is an executive branch authority, but think about defend the interest of the United States according to the law. Who develops the law's definition? Who defines what is according to the law? Well, it's the judicial branch, but oftentimes the executive branch can also make a decision as to what the law means, and this is particularly important in the work of the Department of Justice. Another aspect to DOJ's mission, to ensure public safety against threats, foreign and domestic. And certainly we look to the courts to make sure that public safety is taken into account, is ensured, particularly amongst domestic threats, people who commit crimes, people who violate the law, going to be prosecuted and hopefully sentenced by the courts. But again, this is part of the Department of Justice's mission. You also have as part of the mission to provide federal leadership in preventing and controlling crime. Here again, the issue of crime can straddle both the executive and the judicial branch, and in fact can also go into the legislative branch, the branch of Congress, because who defines what a crime is? Well, a crime has to be defined by the law. Who writes the law? Congress does. The Department of Justice also seeks just punishment for those guilty of unlawful behavior. Certainly, ultimately, it is the sentencing power of judges to determine what a punishment will be. But oftentimes, the Department of Justice, in prosecuting cases, will make sentencing guidelines, sentencing recommendations for those who are found guilty of violating the law. And then the final part of their mission statement, to ensure fair and impartial administration of justice for all Americans. And again, this kind of straddles the line between the executive branch and the judicial branch. So a lot of the mission of the Department of Justice may sound like judicial activities, seeking punishment, preventing and controlling crime, ensuring public safety, seeking to ensure fair and impartial administration of justice. But it's really about the executing the law and defining what the law is that is the main part of DOJ's responsibility. Now, the Department of Justice, just to kind of give you a background, because I think it's important to kind of see how this particular executive agency or bureaucracy developed. It came out of the Judiciary Act of 1789. When Congress first met, they passed what was known as the Judiciary Act. And within that Judiciary Act, it established the Attorney General as a position within the government, reporting to the President, but the Attorney General had a very small staff. And here's kind of the qualifications needed and the responsibilities of the Attorney General, or sometimes we refer to them as the AG. The AG was to be learned in the law. Well, what did that mean? Does it mean you have to pass law school? Do you have to pass the law exam? Or can you just have read within the law? Nowadays, we take it for granted that attorney generals will be graduates of law schools. But back in the late 1700s, not a lot of lawyers went to law school. They simply read the law and then began to practice. But again, the Attorney General was to be learned in the law. Think about the expertise, the knowledge, the training in the law. That's part of the bureaucracy's functions. The Attorney General was to prosecute and conduct all suits in the Supreme Court in which the United States shall be concerned. So it was his responsibility to appear before the Supreme Court and to argue and prosecute all suits before the nation's highest court. The responsibility was also to give advice and opinion when required by the president. Because he was considered a presidential advisor, the president could request the AG's advice and opinion on questions of the law. And then finally, or when requested by the heads of any of the departments, touching on any matters that may concern their departments. So any question of law that may have been in another department, the Attorney General was charged with being kind of the counsel, the advisor, the opinion giver. As the nation grew, so did the responsibilities of the Attorney General, of the AG. And it got to the point where Congress decided the Attorney General needed assistant Attorney Generals to oversee specific areas. And by the end of the Civil War, in 1870, Congress decided we needed to create an entire department. So the Department of Justice, with the Attorney General as its head, was created in 1870. Now, typically we think of the heads of the executive branch agencies as secretaries, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Health and Human Services. But the Attorney General is indeed its head and holds the power of a secretary, even though the title is Attorney General. Now, to give you a sense of the structure of the Department of Justice, here's kind of the organizational chart. I'll just briefly run through it to give you a sense as to how it has developed over time. You see here at the top, the Attorney General. Right below the Attorney General is a Deputy Attorney General, kind of the person that oversees more of the day-to-day activities. Then you start to have various other offices. The Office of Solicitor General. This position is responsible for advocating before the U.S. Supreme Court on any federal government matter. We have an Associate Attorney General. They oversee a wide variety of offices, including the Assistant Attorney Generals for Civil Rights, Antitrust, the Tax Division, Civil Division, Environmental and Natural Resources, and then Community Relations Services. We also have various offices that report to the Deputy Attorney General and oversee kind of the legal aspects. You'll notice the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Bureau of Prisons, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, U.S. Marshals, U.S. Attorneys, the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. Then you have offices like the National Security Division, the Inspector General, U.S. Parole Commission, other offices that report to the Attorney General. So it's a pretty wide open agency that has a lot of responsibilities and duties associated with it. So in kind of answering the question, is DOJ an executive or judicial branch agency, or is it both? Primarily, the Department of Justice is an executive branch cabinet department. because it reports directly to the president and is beholden to the executive office. But it works closely with the judicial branch. Most notably, the use of attorney generals who are U.S. attorneys who are prosecutors in federal court. They prosecute and advance all criminal and civil allegations against individuals. The Solicitor General, I mentioned previously, they represent the U.S. government before the Supreme Court. They are an executive branch officer, but they work closely with the judicial branch. Then also things like overseeing the federal prison system. Yes, part of the judiciary in terms of housing inmates and prisoners, but done through the executive branch. The DOJ works with all three branches of government, and I think while a lot of agencies do work with all the different branches, DOJ is rather unique in working with all of them because oftentimes they have to work with Congress to help create and define what the law is, with members of Congress who passes laws and implements and creates that law. They're certainly part of the executive branch, the president, to implement and execute the law. But finally, they also work very closely with the courts to try and defend and advance what the law is with judges and juries.